Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. Today's class, Hatha 2 class, be actively doing some mobility work for your hips and your shoulders, helping you to get into front and side splits. And I really believe in a handstand. So I've been teaching this class ever since the pandemic. So I hope the class has been helping you if you've been taking the class. And if you're new to the class, know that you don't have to do everything. If you're consciously building up good practice daily, you'll get stronger, you'll get more flexible, you'll develop a healthier practice. So it doesn't have to be like perfect. Obviously trying to work towards good practice, but when you get tired and you really can't support yourself, I would stick to more basic positions and that'll help you more. If you're new to my class, all my information is on my website. I teach live classes Friday, Saturday, and I have a Zoom class Wednesday night. It's more based in healing and restorative work. And then I have a Sunday basic class. It's a base level class that's on Zoom, and that's from 10 to 11. So I hope the classes have been helping you. I really love sharing yoga. I've been teaching yoga for nearly 20 years. So it's great to reach out. I love that I can teach anybody throughout the world and help them as best that I can. So how we're going to start the class is in an all four position. So the hands are just underneath the shoulders. And with your hands just underneath your shoulders, you're just going to be moving the weight around. So I'm really gripping through the fingers, through the knuckles. With a handstand, you'll probably be falling out from time to time, right? That's okay. But in moving around like this, it's assimilating like falling out. It's going to help build up stronger action in the hands and the arms. Good morning. So I'm going to turn the hands out. How you doing, Eric? So I'm moving my weight over my wrist, so the whole time I'm really trying to push the floor away from me, and that's probably the biggest thing that I see with people is that they don't really push enough, and that's why they can't balance. So if you can balance for a couple seconds, that's good, but let's say it's been like that for a while, you're probably not pushing enough, you know? If you're pushing through the hands collectively, it feels effortless. It'll get really light. So I'm going to turn the hands in to face one another and possibly turn them back a little bit more. So this is internal rotation. I could be moving side to side. I'm doing a circular motion. So there's a bigger stretch through the forearms. And then in stretching through the forearms, especially if you do a lot of handstand work, you want these tissues to be pliable. So I'm going to change the direction. So I'm moving around. Really, really good for your shoulders. So we all need external rotation, but the internal rotation is just as important. So come back into the middle, and then when you come back into the middle, I'm going to be on my fist. So being on the fist, I'm just going to move the weight forward, and then I'm going to move it back. So with wrist work, it's probably needed, but I would just pick out a couple different things, and then by picking out a couple different exercises, stay really consistent with them. Just do them in the morning, in the afternoon, or something like that. And then over time, you'll really see if they're really helping you. And then you can change them, right? So I'm going to bring weight into the back of my right hand, and I'm going to open and close the hand, right, to expose the wrist. And then I'm going to do the same on the left side. So this is like an easier form of some of the things that I use, but it's a good place to start. So I'm going to come back onto the hands, and I'm going to push through the hands and round through the shoulders. So these are just scat push-ups. So when you're really pushing through the hands, this assimilates very much of the handstand. So go back, push through, and now keep that. And you could come up into plank, right? But I'm going to take my knees up off the floor. And with my knees up off the floor, it's like a baby crow. It's a good way to kind of get you engaged. So I'm pushing through the hands, and I'm trying to keep my ribs in. And by keeping my ribs in, I'm going to help in holding a better line in the handstand, right? So I'm going to step back into plank, and then in plank, I'm going to kind of move around just again. I favor my right hand, so I go into my left more if I could. I'm going to turn my right hand back towards my toes. Maybe turning it out halfway, right? But I'm turning it back. I'm going to move the weight back a little bit, expose the forearm. So turn the right hand forward and then turn the left hand back. So you don't really have to be incredibly strong through the abdomen to get into a handstand, but it helps. You know, it certainly helps. I think what's more important is really understanding how to push through the hands, how to activate through the shoulders. So turn the hands forward and then push through the hands and get more and more hollowed, and then slowly lower to all the way to the floor. So I'm going to just take my arms forward and I'm going to turn my thumbs up. I'm going to try to keep my ribs in and then bring my arms up. Now for you, you might not be able to take your arms up. So what you could do is have your hands on blocks. And what that means is you probably don't have enough passive flexibility in the shoulder to keep the arms like so. So I'm going to bring the hands down. I'm going to take them up again. And then in taking them up, I'm going to take them into more of a cactus position. And then I'm going to bring them forward. So the cactus position can help in getting them forward as I am. I'm going to take them back. Right, open the shoulders. I'm going to bring them forward. And you don't have to have the thumbs turned up. It's more of a visual. This is external rotation. So bring the arms down. Come up onto the elbows, the forearms, and pull yourself forward towards your hands or fingers to get a good lift in the upper body. I'm bringing more weight into my left side. As I bring more weight into the left side, I'm enhancing the left side of my upper body. For me, when I back bend, that's where I really need to leverage. So I'm going to come down, have the hands underneath the shoulders, just coming up into a low cobra, and then maybe up into something higher. I'm using these to help get you a little bit stronger if you don't have a lot of strength, and it'll help with the flexibility. So push through the hands, broad through the chest, look over your shoulders if you need to, bring yourself forward and down, and then last time we'll come up. Now when you come up, you could squeeze the legs together, and then that'll help get more weight in the legs, and there's way more leverage involved. So like any position with the feet together, it's just more leverage. So I'm going to come forward, come down, have the hands underneath the shoulders, push through the hands. So just push just a little bit off the floor. So just kind of feel that. And if you can, I'm going to push straight up into a plank. So go back up into a down dog. So go all the way back up into a down dog, turning my heels out, pushing through the hands. I'm going to come into a high push-up. So hold plank. You could lower to chaturanga and then come up into an up dog. You want extra work or practice, you could come into a low push-up, hover. You can go up into a plank. You can go back up into a down dog. So you can pull back through the thighs. I'm going to come down onto my knees, and I'm going to use blocks today. Not that you have to. I'm going to be on the second level of the blocks. And this is really good to strengthen the hands. It's predominantly why I'm doing it. So I'm going to come up into plank and then squeezing in. So professional hand balancers, they use blocks to really help with one-handed handstanding. So a yoga block is bigger, but when it's on its side, it's very similar in dimension in terms of supporting the hands and getting the hands to be stronger. So go up into a down dog, and in a down dog, pull way back through the thighs. Keep the ribs in, whether it's splits, front splits, or a handstand. That's really the action. So take the right leg up to the ceiling and bring the knee and nose together. Just pull it in, and you can take it up. So that's probably the most basic form, but it's actually really good. It'll help you in many ways. So I'm going to pull the knee into the chest and then take it out to the right. So I'm going to try to draw a bigger circle through my right leg. And you could certainly do this with straight legs if you wanted to. So I'm pushing through my hands, I'm circling through the leg, and then I'm going to bring the knee and nose together. So pull it in, take it back up. You could open it up. Now when I'm opening the leg up, I still want to stay active, right? I'm trying to lift my leg to the ceiling, not just take it back over me. Bring the knee and the foot forward, and you're going to come up into a high lunge. So in a high lunge, I'm going to take my arms overhead. I could open and close the hands. I've talked quite a bit about this in terms of your stance. You want it to be long, or get longer, I should say. Not necessarily doing that now, but I'm moving the weight down, but I'm going up, right? So bring the left hand down the floor, and with the left hand down, take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high and the left hand is low. I'm gonna bring my right elbow to the floor if I can. And I'm gonna take the arm up. So actively getting stronger in the twist. Bring the right hand down, right elbow down, and then take it back up. So you can open through the arms, through the hands. So push strong through the left hand. Try to lift through the chest and bring the right hand down and then sit the hips back or bring the knee down and then come up onto the hands. So I'm gonna sit back a little bit. So I'm gonna come forward with my torso, with my chest, if my back isn't bothering me today. If it's bothering you, don't do it. I'm coming up and then I'm gonna come forward. So you could either be pushing the heel down or you could be trying to lift the leg to the face, right? Like lifting it. Both will help you in this position. So bring it back up and come forward, really come forward. That's it. And then as you're moving into the back of the leg, you'll get into the more of the hip. And then I'm gonna come up, and just to give you a reference on, this is what I'm talking about, taking it up off the floor. The closer the hands are to the foot, the more complex it is to lift. Right? Go back into a low lunge and come up into a high lunge. So in a high lunge, what I'm doing is I'm gonna try just to make the stance longer. And again, I'm getting out of alignment, which is really, again, the stages of moving into the splits. Because it's relatively the beginning of class. Maybe you're not here, maybe you're up in your lunge, but I work these poses not every day, but when I do, I want to be able to do them anytime, warm or not, right? So I want to be able to support my weight with strength. And then bring the hands down, come back into a lunge, bring the right elbow down, take the right arm up. You can make the hand into a fist if that's helping you more. Bring the right hand down, step back to plank. As you step back into plank, lower to a low push-up. Come up into an up dog. And then pull back up into a down dog. Again, you could get lower to a low push-up. You can go back up into a down dog. Just because it's an hour class, I fit stuff like that in just to help you. Take the left leg up to the ceiling. And then bring the knee and nose together. Pull it in. Take it up. Bring the knee into the chest, the abdomen. Really pull it in here. Take the knee out to the side. So right about here, for me, it's quite difficult. So I'll hold that, try to work it a little bit more, and then making a bigger circle with my leg. Just careful with the blocks. You can see that I kind of slipped a little bit. So if my weight in my hands are too far forward, I could possibly fall out. So maybe you want your hands back on the back end of the blocks. Bring it back in, pull it in, take it up, and then take the left leg back over the right shoulder, but keep lifting through the inside of your left thigh. It's really the outside of your hip that's the action here, right? And then bring the knee and nose together, step it forward, come up into a high lunge. Just a couple of breaths, I'm up. Pubic bones lifting, tailbones dropping. And again, you could be really exploring a bigger, longer shape as you get more stable in these positions. So bring the hands down, take the right hand down the floor, take the left arm up to the ceiling. I think I'm pulling the hips back in space. Arm could be forward, right? Doesn't have to be up. Bring the left hand down, bring the left elbow. You might have to make the stance wider. Get the elbow to the floor and take it back up. Bring it down. Really, really great for the backs of the shoulders. And then take the left arm out, turn through the upper body. So think I'm pulling your hips back in space. And then bring the right knee down, and with the right knee down, sit back with the hips. Use your blocks. Sit nice and tall and upright. Foot could be flexed or pointed. Be active through the front of your leg, so you're getting the hamstring to lengthen. And then come forward with your torso. Really come forward with the torso rather than just rounding your back. So think the front body's leading the cause. Bring yourself up. Inhale, lifting. Get really, really long, coming forward. Over time, it's really, really beneficial for obviously the hamstring, but you'll get more and more positive work into the outside of the left hip. Bring yourself up again, and then you can come forward however far you want to come forward. So as you come forward, push the heel down the floor, the left heel, or try to lift the leg into the chest. Like you can pull it up. Right? I'm going to bring myself up, and then I'm going to work on lifting the leg. So this work is more for the front leg. It's like the splits, when you do Hanumanasana. But the coming up is really good for the back hip, the right hip, the hip flexor. Again, closer the hands are to the blocks, or the hands are to the foot, more difficult to do. And then bring it down if you did so. Come back into a low lunge. Come up into a high lunge. And just try to make it a little bit longer. So as I'm in a longer position, I could move, and this side is easier for me, just easier in my right hip. So when I do the splits, when my right leg is forward, it's a much more difficult position for me. And low isn't necessarily better. So if you need your hands on the blocks, good. It's good that you realize that, or chairs, but try to rely less and less on your hands, and your hips will get stronger. Your hamstrings will get stronger. I think it's a better way than just trying to get lower, right? So come back into a low lunge, right? Bring the right hand down or the elbow down, and then take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high. So I did it left elbow earlier, just to be fair and even. Then take the left arm up to the ceiling, and then bring the left hand down. So with the left hand coming down, I'm going to step back into a plank without the blocks. So I'm going to step back, I'm going to get hollow, I'm going to lower to a low push-up, I'm going to come up into an up dog, and then pull back up into a down dog. So pull all the way back up into a down dog, and then come forward onto your hands and your knees, and have your two blocks, but have them stacked up. So I'm going to have my one block in its most narrow position, and then I'm going to have my other block on top of that. And then I'm just so that people on Instagram can see this as well, I'm just taking my hands on the blocks forward, and this is more of a, what you're trying to get into the shoulders is a more singular line. So when I see people like in an overhead position, it's difficult for them to be in this line, which makes it more difficult to balance it. It takes a lot more effort and skill, but as you get more clean through this line in the shoulder, you'll see that it's easier to support your weight on your hands. So it's not bad to sag down, right? That has its place. You can certainly do that. But if you're wanting to work more of the line of the handstand, is try to keep the ribs in. So remember when we were on the floor with your belly, you're trying to keep that in. And then also here, it's not bad to hang onto the blocks. That's really how I've been teaching it here, is think that they're lifting. And that makes a difference. So you can walk the knees forward, you can come off the blocks. And then when you come off the blocks, have the hands just underneath the shoulders, and push through the hands and round through the shoulders. Just going to do a few of these. Lower the chest, push through the hands, round through the back. One more time, lower the chest, and then push. So if you don't have this push initially, like I said, it's going to be very difficult to come up into a handstand, whether you're using the wall or you're jumping or you're doing it in the middle of the room, right? It's in my opinion, probably one of the most important things for a handstand. So I'll teach it at the wall, but you know, say you're like, hey, I want to try it in the middle of the room. They both are really, really beneficial. It's just initially kicking up is probably going to be the easiest way to come up. So when you come into the wall with the hands, you don't want to be too close to the wall. You want to push through the hands, you want to round through the shoulders like I mentioned. And then when you're learning it, you'll feel like it's easier to take up one leg. So start with that leg, right? So whether it's the right or the left. And then I like to kick up in threes for people. So you can kick up once, be really light, kick up for two, try to resist if you come down, right? And then kick up, push, be at the wall, right, the whole time if you need it. You could let the head go, you can push with the hands. When I'm at the wall, I'm actually not in the best alignment. So this is why I don't really love this for long term. Initially, it's good to use, but it really teaches not such a great, it really can wear on your back, your lower back, right? So let's say you're already tired, you come down, and when you come down, you could squat, right? I'm big on squatting, not that you have to be big on it, but it's a lot of different positions. So say you're like, oh, this is hard. We could kick up again, and I'm going to kick up again. So a good practice, and I'll do it with you this way, is kicking up and coming down. Really builds up a lot of good conditioning. So like it could be a good warm-up for someone that just doesn't want to have the mind or the activity of the mind in terms of balancing, because it does take quite a bit of focus initially. So I'm going to kick up with my right leg and then come down with my right, and then my left stays up. Then I'm going to kick up with my left and then come down with my left and then come up with my right. Again, you're really pushing through the hands. So right leg comes down, left leg swings up. If your arms are bent, it's twice as hard. So really, really hard. Try to keep the ribs in. Right? When you come down, really try to get slow and light, more control, and then that'll help you in supporting, getting stronger. That's a good practice to start with, right? So come onto your hands, and then when you come onto your hands, what you're going to do is be on your fists. So just let the hands come down, come up, double up your mat if this is too hard. Open the hands, close the hands, lower, press up, lower, open, close, lower, up. And then when you're all the way up, you're just going to move the weight forward and back. And again, if it's just like, wow, that's not really good for me, stick with just standard, but move it around, massage the tissues around the wrist, like when you have some free time, you're watching whatever on your television. So come back into the middle, have the hands turned forward, and tuck the toes, and lift straight up into a plank, and go back up into a down dog. Go all up into a down dog. You need a back bend. You can come forward and through into an up dog. This is an efficient way. Say you're tired, this is a great way. Go back up into a down dog. Right, and then walk the feet forward to the middle of the mat. Walk the hands back towards the feet. Hang in a forward bend. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you could certainly stay here, right? I'm going to roll up, and as I roll up, I'm going to come up all the way up with my hands. So just take your arms overhead, hook your thumbs, and see where the weight sits in the feet. So a lot of times when people do handstands, the weight's too far forward in the front of the hands, and the hips are like so, and that's why the lower back can, get a little worn out. So you want the tailbone to move down, you want the pubic bone to lift, you want to be in more of a posterior tilt, and then just kind of play around with the weight. So understanding the weight in the feet is really the same thing of understanding the weight in the hands. So come up onto the toes, lift the heels off the floor, and your head, if you really have a big sway in your back when you handstand, so you can lower the heels, it comes from looking at the hands too much, predominantly the fingertips. So when I'm in a handstand, I'm really looking initially I'm looking at the heel of the hand, and then I'm working more towards getting my head completely in a good line or into my chest, different variations. So you can lower your arms if you still have them up. Take the feet out wide, and with the feet out wide, just turn the feet out a little bit and just move the weight around. Just transfer the weight and just feel like if it's difficult to push through one foot, you may already know this, but that's probably the foot or the leg that's weaker. So when I skateboard or when I surf, I have my left foot forward. So when I do yoga, my left side's actually my better side. Like it's easier to hold poses. They look better. It's just stronger. So when I'm working more on strengthening my legs, I'm really working on my right side more. So just make it a little bit shorter. I was a little wide, and I'm just gonna circle my right knee. Just circle it a little bit. Say you have a knee injury, obviously don't do that, but circle it around left side. Again, the same thing about the wrist in alignment. You're gonna be out of alignment whether you're playing basketball, running, going upstairs. This is just good prep work, right? So I'm gonna move the weight out, and I'm gonna do a bit of a Cossack series, which I really like for people. So when you sit into the right side, I'm lifting the toes of the left, or my foot is turned in. So try not to sit as low as you can, right? Especially if you're more flexible. Push through the right foot, bring yourself up, go into the left side. When you go into the left, you're trying to keep your back straight. So a little bit of a weight, could be like a book. Something is very good in helping you to get more upright. Not that this is bad, right? This is just a reflection that you don't have the flexibility just yet. That is not bad. You can push through the left foot. You can lean into the right side. Some people have reached out to me and said, hey, is that bad that I'm leaning forward? Not at all. Push strong through the right foot, lift yourself up, go into the left side. Here's the man. He's very good at this. So you can come in front of me. And then when I'm sitting, I'm gonna push through my left foot. Now, I could push really, really strong through the left foot and go to the right. And then when I'm at the right, I'm just down in a low position trying to keep my back straight. So you can bring yourself back up, and then you can go to the left. So again, we're bigger positions than say, like warriors, right? But that's really the extension of split work and very good for the spine, right? So I'm gonna come back up, push through the left foot. I'm gonna go to the right. I'm gonna sit, maybe not, I'm gonna try to sit lower. Of course, use something, right? And if you can do it without the hands, it's not better. It's just more leverage for the hips, right? And then I'm gonna bring the knee down and in. This position is not as practiced for me, so that's why I'm doing it. So it could be like a standard Virasana, which is very good too. It could be Jana Shirshasana. But I'm gonna come forward with my upper body. As I come forward with my upper body, I'm over my left leg. Again, drive the left leg down or lift it up. So let's say you're really inflexible, get the help of another person, have them push into you a little bit, that's good. Weight could be on your back. You gotta get really good at doing it with just your body weight before you start loading your back up. And I'd start with a really light weight, like 5-10 pounds, something like that. So bring yourself up. When you come up, I'm gonna lift the right knee up. I'm gonna push through the right foot, load into the right foot, and bring yourself back up. And go into the left side, turn the toes up, widen the legs out. You maybe sit with, use some weight to get down. Control it coming down, control, and then you're down. And then I'm gonna turn my left leg in. Again, could be Virasana, foot into the thighs, Jana Shirshasana. The leg out is more like a half frog. I'm gonna come forward, and then as I come forward, it's just, I'm decent in internal rotation to a limit, but then I don't have it as much. And that's why I like this left leg in this position. Right, bring yourself up. Bring weight into the left hip if you're sitting as I am. Then come forward Really coming forward. Lift up through the chest, I should say. Bring yourself up. And then one last time. And if you need to hold the foot, right, that definitely has its place. You know, if you lack flexibility, of course you can do that. Right, bring yourself up, and then when you come up, stack the left knee over the left foot. As you stack it up over the foot, you may need to lean forward a little bit, right? So I'm just lining up the foot with the knee. I'm pushing strong through the left foot, right? I'm lifting my hips. I'm bringing myself up, and then I'm going to go back into a wide position with my legs. So, yeah, maybe you want to come over here, buddy, right here. So you can take your feet up wide. So Noah's using a wall, which is really smart, so your feet don't slide out so much. So you can hug the legs in, you could push them apart, right? All have their place to help you. I'm going to bring the hands down, just so that you have another way of doing it. And I'm really trying to lift my legs up and away from the floor. So this is, side splits for me is more complicated than front splits. Toe heel the feet in a little bit closer, right? And then step the feet in just about a little wider than the shoulders and come into a squat. And squatting should be easier from that last series, like way easier. And that's a big reason why I've been using that type of sequencing in this class. So have your right arm up to the right, take your left hand behind your head, and turn through the chest. So this is more of a static hold, but you can move, which is really popular these days, but just move the head back in space, and just in using effort, you'll feel how literally the bones and the tissues will move apart. So bring the left hand down and then take the right arm back behind the head. So I'm turning, I'm pushing my left arm into my left leg. From time to time, maybe you can see this, is I'm lifting my hips a little bit more. So it's a little active, a little bit more active than just sitting low, right? And then you can take that right arm down, and then I'm going to come back onto my hands and my knees. So into an all four position. So just let the chest drop down between the arms, then push through the hands, round through the shoulders, let the chest move down, press through the hands, and round through your back. So again, you could kick up, but which I think is better, even if you're newer to this type of practice of a handstand, is walking in. So let's say you can't walk up. You can just walk up to an L, go up, come down. Take a couple breaths. When you're ready, do it again. Try to get to like 5 or something like that if you can't get all the way up. This will produce a better line, and it's way better for your back. So I'm going to come onto my hands. Can you scoot over a little bit? So we're going to use the wall together. So I'm going to walk my left leg up the wall, and know that, well, the first one I'll teach you how to come out, right? Take your right leg up, go to an L, or walk in. So just the first one, I'm going to come here.
Oh yes, this is great.
And then I'm going to walk forward, and then I'm going to walk down.
Oh my god, I'm stuck on this.
So go back up.
There you go.
So like what Noah did is he went up. It's always harder to come out. So don't go, oh, I'm gonna hold it, and then you burn out, and then you have to fall or you have to collapse out. So get familiar coming out, and that's why I taught it like this. So I'm gonna go back up. I'm gonna walk back up the wall, walk in, and then walking in, I want my toes at the wall and my nose, not my ribs. So I want to keep my ribs in, and you're pushing really hard, right? Push through the fingertips.
Oh my god.
Walk back out, walk forward,
Okay.
walk your hands forward.
Ow.
Yeah, and then as you walk out, you're back into a squat. So coming into a squat, open and close the hands. So maybe you didn't, get all the way up, but I think anybody that wants to learn a handstand can most certainly learn it, can most certainly attain it. It's really the drive, Like when I'm doing handstands in the park, a lot of times people are like, oh no, I couldn't do that. You just have to slowly get back or start somewhere, and then you can build it up. You know, I've seen people with one arm doing one handstand. You know, obviously they're supported, right? So come back onto your mat, and if you were off, and just bring the hands back underneath you, but this time we're gonna bring the backs of your hands to the floor, and I'm just gonna move the weight side to side. So common is just, oh, my wrist. So that's why I'm doing this more often. But when I do handstand work, I just do a little bit before, and I'll do like a 5-minute, 10-minute practice like at night usually. Just so that I'm maintaining good quality in my wrists and my forearms. So come back onto your hands, and as you come back onto your hands, lift up into a down dog. As you lift up into a down dog, come forward into a plank, come up into an up dog, pull back up into a down dog, right? And then just walk the feet forward, middle of the mat, walk the hands back towards the feet, and walk the feet in so that the feet are closer. Step the left foot over the right foot, and with the left over the right, just to get a little bit more into the hamstring, into the hip. Any of your hands could be underneath your feet if you wanted to. So just to be forward and down. So when it's really, really hot, some people can really thrive in like a more dynamic practice, but some people actually need more cooling of a practice. So it really depends on the person, right? So when I'm crossing my legs, I'm getting more into my hamstring, getting more and more into my hips. Right? So I'm gonna bring that right foot back into the middle. And then what I'm going to do is roll myself up, standing position. As I roll up, I'm going to take my feet out wide again. So with the feet out wide, I'm moving the weight around, getting, can you scoot forward a little bit? So then as I'm turning my feet out, I'm really trying to get a little bit wider, right? Get my upper body up more. I'm going to move into my right side, back into the Cossack. Use your hands, use a wall, right? Get yourself upright. Press through the right foot, lean into the left, turn the right foot up. And it's, if you don't have the depth, don't sit lower. And I think it's almost healthier doing yoga now online because you're not competing with another person. So bring yourself up. Bring the weight into the right foot. I mean, it's good to be inspired by other people, of course, but you're certainly not going to go as far as another person on some days. So it's okay that you don't, hurt yourself, obviously. Push through your right foot, bring yourself back up. When you come up, we're going to go into having the left foot forward. I'm going to go back into having my stance. I'm going to come back into the front splits. So I'm moving my stance wider. And for this, because you might not be as low as I am, I'm using a block. So the block could be on the inside or the outside. I like the foot squared, the back foot squared, as opposed to having it turned out, right? So it's more into the hip flexor and the psoas. So move it shorter. As you move it shorter, just toe the feet in. This is just easier exit, is always turning to the middle and then turning to the right. And then when you turn to your right, you're going to make it nice and long. As you're long, use your blocks, use your chair. Like I said earlier, this is really predominantly for the back leg. Unless you're really, really tight in the hamstrings, I'm sure you'd feel it there more. So when you're suspended, like I said earlier, you're really demanding more integration, which I think is better, right? So bring yourself back into the middle into a wide stance. Into a wide stance, toe heel the feet in a little bit closer. You could hop the feet in, just to get back into the middle. And we're gonna come onto your hands and your knees. So coming onto a hand and knee position, is just let the chest drop down in between the arms and then just push through the hands. So I'm gonna do some pike push-ups. So easier is a down dog push-up. So tuck the toes and lift up. I'll come up into a down dog. So sometimes a partial rep is really kind of frowned upon, but it's actually very, very good for you. You want to just do a higher number, right? So I'm tucking the toes, I'm lifting the hips. So a partial rep is what it would look like is this. I'm bending, and before I fall or before I fail, I'm just going to lower the knees. And that's a great place to start. I'm going to lift the knees, pull back with the thighs, and then I'm going to do a full rep if I can, right? I'm going to lower, elbows are in, chest is forward, then I'm bringing the knees down. So that's a good way, to really learn how to press more through the hands for your handstand. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to do a pike push-up. So a pike push-up's a little bit shorter and it's more demanding on the shoulders. So pike push-up, a shorter down dog, I'm going to bring the chest forward and down, and then I'm going to press through the hands. So you want to emphasize the lowering down. That's where you're really going to build up a lot of strength. And you could push quite hard and coming up. Obviously you don't want to hurt something, right? Come forward nice and slow and controlled. Right? And then push yourself back up. Lower, elbows in. Lower, lower, lower. Press through the hands. Bring yourself back up. Now make it longer. And then with a longer stance, I'm going to come forward, down onto my belly, and I'm going to use my blocks, right? So my blocks are out in front of me. Just going to do one arm individually. So a good way to strengthen the shoulders, especially if you don't have a TheraBand. I really believe in TheraBands. But I'm going to take my left arm forward, like I'm shaking hands with you. And then I'm going to take my left arm up off the floor, but I want to keep my ribs in. I don't want to deviate. And I'm going to take my left arm out to the left, and I'm going to turn the thumb down as I take it out to the left, and then bring it back behind me. And then I'm going to bring it forward. And it's, I really believe in a slow kind of cadence initially, but a little bit of, a stronger effort is really good for the shoulders. So take it forward. I like using both arms too, but initially for working with people, I like doing the arms individually because you'll really see where you're imbalanced or what needs more strength, right? So take the right arm forward, keep the ribs in, and then take the right arm up, and then bring it out to the side. Keep getting wider through the front of your shoulder, and then take it back. Right, I love these. They're so, so good for your shoulders. You can turn the palm up or the thumb up. Lift, 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 lift. And you could bring it down. You could add a little bit of weight. Like first start with like a can of soup or something like that. Can of beans. And then back out to the side. You wouldn't really need a real heavy weight. A lighter weight is really what I would always use for something like this, if I did use a weight. Lift the arm up to the side. Turn the thumb out as you take it back. Bring it out really, really wide through the chest. Lift the arm, bring it forward, bring it down. All right, come up onto your hands. As you come up onto your hands, tuck the toes. Lift straight up into a plank. And go back up into a down dog. Push back through the thighs. Swing forward and through into an up dog. Exhale, go back up into a down dog. And then come down onto your knees. And then when you come down onto your knees, have your knees wide and sit back on your feet. So I'm just sitting back on my feet and my knees are apart, right? I'm just gonna sit back a little bit. Good place to start, and might be something that you're going to be using the whole time as opposed to what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some stuff for your feet and getting you to stand up, and we'll practice some asymmetrical. You can call them drop backs in yoga. It's like a sissy squat, but really, really good for the knees and helping you to kind of move through space in a stronger way. That's why I love them so much. So I'm going to come up, and then when I come up, I'm going to have my legs together. I'm going to tuck the toes. have your blocks with you, especially if you haven't done this before, and then lift the knees off the floor, and then lower the knees, take them back up, lower them down, untuck the toes, sit back on the feet. So these are really good in helping to rotate the tibias in. Tibias sometimes have a tendency to turn out, can afflict the knees. So I'm going to tuck the toes, I'm going to lift the knees, I'm going to come a little bit off my heels, and then bring myself up. You could squeeze the knees together. You don't necessarily have to. If you had a really unstable knee, that could be helpful. So I'm going to lower really slow, and then coming back down, knees, sitting on my heels, sitting back on my feet. Again, the reason I'm teaching a class like this is you should be getting stronger from your yoga, and you don't always get that. So it's good to build up some strength here. So lift the knees, bring yourself back up. You could stand, you could just be here. So this is where I'm going to do some rotations. So use a chair, right? Have a chair next to you. If you've never done these before, we're just basically turning to the floor, touching the object, and then bringing yourself back up. If you don't have a lot of flexibility, you got something going on in the knee, maybe we do this at a later time, right? So I'm going to come up on the toes. I'm driving my tailbone down. I'm strengthening my glutes. I'm looking to my right foot. I'm going to reach back for my right heel or anything. Right? It's not really that important to reach back here. I'm going to do it again. Push through the toes, turn through the upper body, reach for that heel, bring yourself up. I'm going to go to the other side. So coming up on the toes, turning. You'll feel like, I shouldn't go lower, right? You'll feel that. But if it's like, hey, I can go back. Majority of your spine is meant to turn and twist. Should eventually be able to do this, right? Come up on the toes, lift the heels, reach back for the left foot, bring yourself back up. So say you're getting closer and you want to work on going back more. I'm going to come up on the toes. I'm going to reach back, just touch the floor, bring yourself up. So let's say you had to come out, right? How would you come out? I'd come down. Right? All this stuff is the same. It's just bite off the right amount as you are practicing, right? So come up on the toes, turn back, turn. Just touch the floor, bring yourself back up. That's if you can come up, right? Again, if I couldn't come up, I would just descend, bring the knees down, untuck the toes, sit back on the heels. If that makes more sense to you. So it's building, but I love these because you can do them anywhere. You don't have to have any kind of stretchy clothes. Sure, you're going to get some looks if you do them, wherever you do them, but they're so good. My legs feel amazing from, I'd have to say that this is one of the better things for my legs and my knees. So come onto your hands. As you come onto your hands, what you're going to do is reach back with the heels, push through the hands, round through the shoulders. Right? And then come down with the knees. And then when you come down with the knees, keep the shoulders over the hands and lift the heels of the hands off the floor. So lift up, lower, lift, lower, lift up, lower. So maybe you can get to 5. Maybe eventually you can get to 10. More isn't necessarily better. So at some point you're like, man, I'm kind of tired. And then you take a break. So I'm going to turn the hands back. As I turn the hands back, just going to move the weight back a little bit. I'm going to rock back a little bit. Right, just to help with the wrist a bit more. I'm going to move the weight around. I'm going to peel it back again. Right. And then I'm going to bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Lift up into a down dog. Come all the way up into a down dog. Make your stance a bit shorter if you need it. Lock it in. Bend the knees. Reach across for the right heel with the left hand. Lift the hips. So the twisting that you did in the sissy squat makes this incredibly easy. So they go hand in hand. You know, this is more passive flexibility, which is great if you really need it. Bring your left hand down, bring your right hand to the outside of your left foot, and then you can pull back. To be honest, some days I don't really work on my flexibility all that much. For me, I have as much as I really need in my life, but there's definitely days that I do work it. So bring more weight in your right foot. Not that I'm like doing weight training, not that I frown upon that, but I'm really just working daily on getting stronger, and that helps my flexibility. So it's really what my focus is on my physical practice, right? And then bring your right hand back. Walk the feet into the middle of the mat. Take the hands back towards the feet. Bring your right hand underneath your right foot. Bring the toes up to the wrist. You know, get more weight into the hand if you need it. You don't want to do that. Don't take it underneath. Careful if you have rings. You're bringing the toes up to the wrist on the left hand. Now, I'm going to do this on the right side again for you, but just rotate the eye of the elbow forward. So turning the arm forward rotates the shoulder. And then taking that out. So as you take it out, come back into a squat. Right? Bring your hands behind your head. Get your knees and your armpits together. It's okay to turn the feet out. It's okay to have the feet forward, you know? Both are valuable. One is not wrong. One is not superior. Right? And then what you'll do is you'll bring your hands down or you'll sit back. And then when you sit back, I'm just gonna do a little bit of bridge work just for your shoulders and just for your back. I'm gonna use the blocks. So once I go back on my back, I'm gonna have my hips underneath me. I'm gonna ground my shoulders into the floor. I'm gonna lift my hips up off the mat. It's good to get the hamstrings stronger, especially if you're a person that, again, is really working more of the splits like we did today. I'm doing this more as a counter for the splits. You know, unless you're running, your hamstrings can get really weak. So it's good to, you know, do more bridge work or specified work for the hamstrings. So push down through the left heel, take the right leg up on top of the left thigh, elevate through the pelvis, ground down through the heel, lift through this, again, through the bones of the spine as opposed to just the hips. Bring the right foot down, keep the hips up, bring the left leg on top of the right leg. So you're getting a good rotation in the left thigh, pushing through the heel, elevating through the pelvis. Couple breaths here. Right, bring the left foot down, and with the left foot down, elevate again through the hips. Think I'm holding onto your sacrum below the lower back, and I'm pulling it forward. Right? Bring your hips down. As you bring your hips down, I'm just gonna bring the block in between my thighs. I'm gonna roll onto my left side. Just gonna do some twists, a rotation, and similar to the sissy squat, right? But I'm gonna reach my right arm over my left. I'm gonna reach up overhead, and then a big circular motion. So I love these. Same thing, you could use a little bit of weight. So if you used a little bit of weight in the right hand, you know, I'm talking really light, but very good in opening up the shoulders and the chest. And the reason I say that is because you could be doing yoga or stretching, and you might not get the leverage that you actually need to develop, you know, a healthier body. So you can bring the right hand back onto the left, and then you can look up to the ceiling. Take the knees over to the right side. As you take the knees to the right, stack the left hand over the right. Really reach through the arm. Look to the hand. Rotate, full rotation. Circle it back to center. Back over the right hand. extend, really get beyond the get beyond your range. And again, this is you're using strength to do it. It's not just a passive opening, right? You're actively, and sometimes yoga gets kind of a bad rap where it's just, you're not getting stronger in yoga, and you certainly can in yoga, right? So bring the left hand back over the right arm. Bring yourself back onto your back. Right. So let's just say you got something very important after class. I would sit up and get really, really attentive and then go and do that. But if I was a person that had the time to relax, very important to do. So like if you're just starting out and you're, or not, right? You have a really heavy, good practice, maybe the next day is lighter. Maybe you're not doing as much. If you want to do this for a long time, and I think that's a better approach. I'm all for really, really physical training, but maybe you're not doing it every day. Some people have a greater capacity in recovering. So of course you can really push your boundaries daily. Hands could be on you, hands could be beside you. And again, if you're a person that has time, continue to lie on your back, continue to relax. If you're needing to get up, you could reawaken your hands, you could reawaken your feet, you could swallow a couple times, you can have your hands. I'm sitting cross-legged, you could sit however you want, so my palms are up. I love teaching this class. I hope you've been liking this class. Leave comments, share, like it. It helps me teach people. Not everybody can afford yoga, so this is a donational based class. So if you can donate, great. Donations are taken from Venmo and PayPal, and that's Jon Witt Yoga. Anything is great if you can donate. If not, share it with a friend that's looking for, there's a lot of good yoga, but if you like my style of teaching, share it with people that you love and care about, because I'd love to support them more. Have a beautiful weekend if I don't see you. Take good care of yourself, and hopefully I'll see you soon in class. Namaste.